So before we begin the webinar, we'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to participate in this webinar. And we do hope that you'll be able to learn a lot of things about the legal register compliance for this event. So before we begin, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. So before we officially get started, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can actually type them in to the chat box in your Teams control panel, and we will try to answer them during the Q&A portion later at towards the end of the show. And just take note that everyone is muted in this event, and also keep your video turned off so that it does not affect the bandwidth of our presentation. So now, without further ado, we will begin the presentation.
All right, thank you, Liza. Let me kick off this webinar. We will be discussing the principles of the legal registers and the different types of solutions that are available and how this might benefit you and some of the key takeaways. We will also provide you a short demo of one of the solutions available. And as what Liza just mentioned, there's a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So just a quick overview of who we are. So we are ESC, Enviro Solutions and Consulting in full. ESC in short, we are a environmental health and safety company with 4 offices in the Southeast Asian region. So we are headquartered in Singapore, and we have 3 other offices in Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, and Hong Kong. And then most recently, we have opened up offices actually in Vietnam and India as well. We are about 80 people strong in HSE consultants, and we are also part of a global network called the Innogen Alliance. So our group director is actually on the board, is one of the board members of this alliance. And this will give us access to about 5,000 HSE personnel worldwide in about 150 countries. So today's speakers, I will start with Eileen, who is our consultant taking care of our EHS business, and she is actually in charge of our legal registers. So Eileen is by education, she is an events and facility manager, but has started last year with us in ESC to take on our legal register business. And as such, she is very well versed in all the codes and standards and practices in Singapore, but also in the region. So my name is Sabina, and I'm with ESC for about 8 years now. Formerly, I'm from Holland. Always been in the consultant business for about 20 years, always in the EHS part. I'm from origin, I am an environmental scientist, but specialized in process safety and EHS. So I'm leading basically within ESC, I'm leading our process safety and EHS management business. I will take care of the introduction, the first part of this webinar, whilst Eileen is going to do a further discussion on the various solutions that are available, and she also prepared a short demo for you. So with any further ado, let us get started. And to start off, we will start with a quick poll. This we will do via, we are using Mentimeter for that. There's a QR code in the screen you can scan with your camera of your mobile phone, and it will get you into a web page. Or you can go to mentimeter.com and you can insert a code as highlighted in the screen. So the code is 56405938. And that will get you, I will give you a moment to do that. And then that will get you to our first poll question. Eileen, can you maybe pull up the Mentimeter?
Yeah.
So if you haven't scanned the QR code yet, no worries. You can always go to mentimeter.com and then type in the code. Sorry, we need to, so the code is in the top of, this is a different code. Sorry, my apologies. The code is 57331114. Apparently it refreshed the code. So the first question we have, do you have any knowledge about legal registers? Let us see, what do we have? We have 6 are saying yes, 3 maybes and 3 no's. So it's about 50-50 of the audience. I will give it a little bit more time because we have a bit of more members. If you haven't been able, you can go to menti.com and type in the code, and then you should be able to get to the question and give your answer. So we are still about 50-50, 7 yes, 3 maybe, 3 no. Let me give it another 10 seconds or so. We have about 20 over participants and 13 respondents. So it's really 50-50. Wow, that makes it all the more interesting when we move further through the webinar. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one is a word art. So it will ask you, what is the first thing what comes to your mind when you hear legal register? You can be creative in putting your answer here and it will pop up very nice. Ooh, work intensive, low budget, compliance, law, compliance, more compliances, compliance stays big, evaluation, I see, safety requirement, I see law and laws. Most of you are thinking about compliance, and the rest is a bit eco. Audit documents is popping up, documents for compliance, also compliance related, legal requirements. All right, we'll need to remember the work intensive. That is a very interesting one. All right, let's give another 1 or 2 seconds for other people to put in their words. EHS business, I see popping up. What do we have? The still compliance is leading it. Okay, we have 16 out of about 30 respondents. Okay, 10 more seconds. Can we get a couple of more? They are all in the compliance probably, because the bigger the word, the more people have put in that word. So, all right. Well, this is an interesting opener, and I will remember some. The work intensive, I find very interesting. Compliance, of course, is what we are going to talk about. Audits, EHS business, the law, of course, the law is very important in here. All right, let's move forward. I think, Eileen, you have to, yes. You have to swap the screen. Sorry, people.
All right, done.
Just done? Oh, I didn't change in my screen.
Not yet. I think, yeah.
It's done. All right, perfect. Okay, let's go to the first part, the principles of a legal register. So why and what is a legal register? So why do we need to do it and what is it? So I think you can all imagine, right, that it's a document where you can keep all of your legislations organized for your organization. And we are focusing here on EHS, environment, health, and safety. But of course, you can include a lot of other legal requirements in there, like your HR or your finance or something like that, right? You can make it very extensive. So what does it provide you? It provides you the basics for your certifications and your compliance. So it helps you to manage what you need to adhere to. So all those laws and regulations which are out there in this big world, it will help you to understand them, to organize them, and to ensure that your company is complying to whatever is in the clauses in there. So do you require a permit? Do you require a license? Do you require a competent person for something? Do you need a first aid kits? Do you need fire extinguishers? So it has, from a lot of angles, you can manage your compliance. So, and this compliance management, of course, serves for your certifications. So either ISO 14001, your environmental management system, or ISO 45001, your safety management system, or your health and safety management system. And it gets together all the rules, all the regulations, all the standards, all the laws, and it in one overview, it brings them all together for you to easily view it and then to manage it, right? So let's go to the next slide. So why do we need to do this? So it helps you with your legal compliance, right? So it will prevent you non-compliances, which might result in lawsuits or loss of reputation, or even more severe, if you get a lawsuit, you might have to pay hefty fines, or you even end up in jail, or your company might be closed, right? You get stop work orders if you're not complying to something. So it makes you aware of all your legal obligations in order to protect, it says here health and safety, but actually to protect your environment, health and safety in your organization, and of course of all the people within your organization as well. It helps you to improve your operational efficiency and safety by organizing or outlining operational procedures. So if there's any stipulants in the regulation which tells you if you have to work at height, you have to do it this, and the other way, it will help you then to draft out your operational procedures and processes within the organization, which then helps you as well when you're an ISO certified organization, which can help you then also in your auditing process and in your certification process to manage everything accordingly. Next slide, please. So how does this work then? So how do we set up a legal register, right? Or a legal compliance register. So this is similar to, so I have already mentioned ISO systems a couple of times, and you might or might not be aware of that. ISO follows the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, the PDCA cycle, or the Deming circle. So I'm from Holland. I actually know it as a Deming circle and not per se as the PDCA. But it follows similar steps. So first you need to identify your legal, your laws and regulations. And of course, you need to understand your business nature and operations. Yeah, so once you understand your business nature and operations, you can identify the associated laws and regulations to it. Yeah, so you go to the next step, you can identify your requirements. Yeah. Once you understand your requirements, you can then check whether or not those laws and regulations are then actually applicable to you, right? If they are not applicable, you can actually put them to the side, right? So you can focus on that, what is applicable to your specific organization. Once you have that, you can actually continue to check your compliances. So once you know what you need to adhere to, then you can check your internal compliances, whether or not you meet those requirements in the regulations. Then subsequently, you will have to monitor for your changes, right? Legal requirements, always something happens. They get updated very frequently. Sometimes they are around for many, many years, but most of the requirements are actually updated very frequently because of new technologies available, or incidents happened with other facilities, and that reflects into a change in the law and regulations or in the codes and standards or practices followed. So you will have to monitor those. And once you monitor those changes, you actually go back to your business nature and operations again, and assess whether or not they have any impact on that, right? Do your requirements change? Are they applicable to you? Are you then compliant to it? And it goes on and on and on, right? So this is similar to the Deming cycle or the Plan, Do, Check, Act principle. And I think that's all for me. Eileen, it's your turn to talk a little bit more about the various solutions that there are and how you can then actually physically manage your compliances by incorporating the solutions.
Yeah, thank you,
Eileen, over
Sabine.
to you.
Thank you, Sabine. Right, so now we'll move on to the how, basically the ways which you can do to actually ensure legal compliance. So the different legal register solutions that there are. So there are actually a total of 3 ways to do it. So firstly, we have the traditional method, then a modern method, which is a digital solution, as well as a bespoke solution. So let's dive off into the details. So for the traditional legal register, it is a pretty much old school method. So here we can see an example of basically how a traditional legal register looks like in an Excel file format. So the summarized EHS, environmental health and safety, EHS legislations are actually systematically documented in a spreadsheet format. So the information, if you pardon the size of the table, but if we just take a look at it, we can actually see the name of the act as well as the legal relevant legislations that are under the specific acts. In this Excel format, what we do as what a legal register actually entails, the information will actually be the summary of a legal register of the summary of the subsidiary legislation, the main contents of the subsidiary legislations, the effective date where it comes into operation, the URL citation. We can actually link to the actual SSO website, as well as the summary of changes when updates are being done. So the spreadsheets normally are usually updated in a half-yearly basis. So this is the very basic and the most old school traditional type of legal register. So next one, we'll move on to what we call the more modern method, which is the digital solution. So for the digital solution, Excel spreadsheet is actually being digitalized and put into an online platform. So for the platform itself, if you realize the columns are actually the same, which is the name of the act, the subsidiary legislation, effective date, summary, contents list, and the summary of changes. But for digital solution, it actually allows users to view the legislations on your smart devices, and is available to all according to the user rights and profiles. There will also be push notification alerts whenever updates are being done. So you can actually receive the notification through the platform itself or through emails notifications. Besides that, the one thing about digital solution is that you can actually refer back easily to the previous versions of the regulations. So you can actually check what was the previous regulation, what was the regulation previously about, and then what has been changed. You can even compare between the versions. And then for auditing purposes, you may want to even print it out, and you can actually print out the whole list, or you can also print out the individual ones as well. So this digital solution, we will actually provide a sneak peek with a quick demo at the end of the session itself. So next one, we'll move on to the bespoke solution. So the bespoke solution is similar to the digital solution. The principles are the same, just that there are additional features in this bespoke solution. So if we look at this, this is actually the rough interface of how the bespoke solution would look like, where regulations are actually being categorized into different categories. So if we look at the first two, selected legislation and new and amended legislations, these two features are also available in the digital solution itself. So selected legislations will be the list of legislations which are relevant and applicable to the organization, while the new and amended legislation, it actually provides the overview of all the updated legislations. So for Bespoke solution, the 3 additional features are actually the KIV for review, the non-selected legislation, as well as the action plan. So for KIV for review, it can be things like, regulations which you may not need currently, but you may need it in future. Let's say you are actually in a construction phase. So right now you don't know whether this regulation will actually be applicable. You only know, let's say after once the building has been constructed, has been completed. So you will want to put these regulations under KIV for review so that you can actually look back anytime or once the work has been completed and you want to come back and see, oh, do I actually need this regulation? For non-selected legislation, this simply put, it will be every single other legislation which is not put into selected legislations and KIV for review. So basically, these are legislations which you don't think it's applicable to your organization at all, but we will put it in this category so that anytime you think that, hey, you know what, maybe I might need this, you don't have to go to the SSO website. You can just refer here and you can take a look at whether there are any updates on these non-selected legislations as well. So the last one is actually the key main feature for the Bespoke solution. Basically, this is a action plan which allows users to create, assign, and track for compliance to actually do for business operations and things like that. So let's look into more details for action plan on the next slide. So basically for the Bespoke solution, the global action plan is the key feature. So it allows users to create, assign, and track compliance across the organization. It allows communication of action plans to stakeholders across multiple facilities and geographies, because you may not be just a local company. You may have companies or counterparts in other countries. So you can actually communicate these action plans with your staff, employees, with the other stakeholders from other countries itself. It enhances the visibility of real-time monitoring of all actions. If we look at the image below, we can actually see that for actions that are to be done, there will be different statuses, such as to check, then as well as awaiting for a renewal, to do, or in progress, or completed. So all this will actually be available in the global action plan. So it allows users to actually follow up on all the preventive and corrective actions in real time, including non-compliances, audits, risk at workplace. So a very simple example here would be that, let's say there are actually changes in the COVID-19 Act or the COVID-19 legislations, which is very common now with our current pandemic. So in this case, when there are changes or updates to the COVID-19 regulations, the user can actually assign the required action, let's say specifically to the Safety Management Officer, the SMO. So the SMO will then receive notification on what needs to be done to check for compliance. And then he can also update the status once the action has been completed, and we'll be able to see it all in this global action plan itself. So this is a very comprehensive tool which allows better monitoring and better compliance tracking for organizations. Simple and basically very convenient way, rather than to go through the levels of hierarchy or through emails and things like that. So next one, we will go to the summary. Let's have a summary of the 3 different solutions. So if we look at the image here, we can see that the traditional, the simple digital, and the bespoke digital, the differences are actually very clearly ticked here. Just realized some ticks are missing. Okay. let me just go through one by one. So customized legal registers, basically you can do it in multilingual, multi-jurisdictions. So this is available for all three together with company-specific implications. Basically, this is the baseline of having a legal register. So access to EHS legal register specialists, this will also be same across for all three methods. So next one, we'll look at the frequent updates. As mentioned earlier, for Excel format legal registers, they are usually updated on a half-yearly basis. But if we look at the simple digital and bespoke digital solutions, this can actually be as frequent as quarterly or even monthly, depending on how often the legislations are being updated. So in a way, it can be updated in a real-time situation, and you'll be able to receive notifications as soon as possible, so that you ensure that the compliance is immediate or almost immediate. Email alerts as well as the platform alerts, these are only available for the digital solutions, the simple digital and bespoke digital, because we can't possibly send you an alert every time there's an update on an Excel format. Tracking and change history, this is available for both simple and bespoke digital. Very simplified put is that you can check the version histories. Compliance checks, the final three, compliance checks, management of actions and compliance tasks, and the keep in view and non-selected legislations. These are the three main additional features which I mentioned earlier in the bespoke digital solution slides. So let's move on to the general benefits and key takeaways of legal registers. Oh, here are the ticks. Yeah, so we'll now move on to the general benefits and key takeaways. Basically, why is a legal register good, or why is it a tool which organizations would like to choose and things like that. So basically, you get to it provides you with a greater understanding of compliance, because you will be able to keep track of all the activities which you need to conduct. You need to put the processes in place so that compliance is actually being adhered to. It also saves you time, and it definitely makes things more efficient, because rather than looking through the whole SSO website, searching act by act and then legislation by legislation, a legal register provides you with a consolidated list of the legislations which are applicable to you, which are relevant to you, and you know that, okay, these are all I need to look at. Also, it's a customized EHS legal register. It's tailored to your organization. So companies may be in the same industry, but depending on your business operations, business nature, you may even have different lists of legal register, the different regulations that you need to follow. So a legal register can be customized, so it tailor fits your organization. There is frequent regulatory reviews to check for updates or changes to regulations. So this is very convenient. This is very efficient as well. You don't have to worry, hey, has there been any updates? What are the updates that are being done? And then look through the whole SSO website all over again. So all these are being consolidated into the tailor-fit legal register for your organization. So with all this information, it will help the organization to better manage risk, to also identify opportunities for improvement. You get to track your objectives, and then you achieve continual improvement. Lastly, legal registers also leverage on EHS consultant expertise. You may be in a company, but you may not be very aware of what the legislations you may need to follow. So when you have a legal register, you can actually leverage on EHS consultants who are well versed in the EHS legislations, who can then provide you with advise and help you to tailor to cherry pick the regulations that you need to follow and to ensure compliance. Right. So as mentioned earlier by Sabine and in the earlier slides, we actually have a demo for the digital solution. So it's it's not a very long video, but it will show you a very overview of how the digital solution actually looks like. So just give me a minute to share my screen. Okay. Hi everyone. This is a video demo to showcase the digital solution Legal Register Lite version. Upon login, users will be able to see this user interface. On the left, we will be able to see the different sections of this platform which you can choose to be directed to. Legal Register tab. This will bring you to the page where the complete list of relevant laws and regulations are displayed. Apart from legislations, standards and codes of practices may also be included in this platform. Likewise, this tab will bring you to the page where the complete list of relevant standards and codes of practices are displayed. New Regulations tab will display all newly added laws and regulations which are relevant, while the latest changes on Regulations tab will display all recently updated laws and regulations. Here, you will be able to see the summary of the acts which are relevant to your organization. You can click on the plus sign to expand the act, to see the relevant subsidiary legislations and their details. When updates to relevant laws and regulations have been done, an alert will be sent to you through email for each update. You may choose to disable email notifications if you wish to. Updates will also be recorded on the platform itself, at where the notification bell is, as well as the alerts panel on the right. Let's take a look at the Legal Register tab. This page will show you all the relevant laws and regulations that are applicable to your organization. Here, you can also choose to view the Singapore Standards and Codes of Practices, the latest changes on regulations, as well as newly added regulations. In addition, there is also a Withdrawn tab, which will show you the laws and regulations which have either been withdrawn, spent, or cancelled. To view the regulation, you can click on the eye icon here. A new window will appear and the latest version of the legislation will be shown. In this window, you will be able to see the country, the name of the act and regulation, the contents list, a summary of the legislation along with its citation URL and its effective date. At the bottom of the page, you will also be able to see the record of changes on legislation. This is where all relevant amendments will be shown. You will also be able to see when the update was being recorded. You can choose to view the different versions of the legislation. At the same time, you may also wish to compare between the versions. You can click on the magnifying glass here. Choose the version which you would like to compare with and click on Display Differences. You will then be able to see the changes in the respective color codes. Lastly, you will also be able to print the legislation in PDF format by clicking on the printer icon here. This concludes the video demo for the digital solution Legal Register Lite version. Thank you. Right, so that was the quick demo for the digital solution method. So next on, we will actually be holding out for the Q&A session. So we have actually come to the end of basically our presentation. So if you have any questions, do type it out in the chat box and we will try to answer them accordingly. So all questions welcome.
Indeed. And I think, do we have the option maybe to raise hand and have real life questions as well, or do they work via the chat box only?
I think we should be able to do it.
All right.
We can try.
Yeah, we will give you a moment to think about your questions, and I see there is some dropping in already. What is the optimum frequency to update a legal register? That is an interesting question. It depends a little bit in the jurisdiction you're in. Our experience in this region, right, in the ASEAN region, especially Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, etc., there's not such a frequent update of laws and regulations. They're normally, some are every year or every 2 years, but the majority of them, they actually last for a couple of years. And they are pre-announced normally as well. So in Singapore, especially, they will publish a draft version of a law or a code of standard or something like that first. And then they give you time to respond to that before they finalize it. And then it gets enacted. And once it's enacted, there will be normally a transition period as well. So from our experience in this region, if you update every 6 months, you are actually pretty good. You would capture, I would say, 95% of what you need to capture, you will capture in there. Hope this answers your question a little bit. There are some more dropping in as well. All right. There's another question. When amendment is being done, does it show only the amended part or the revised amended regulation? Eileen, can you cover this one?
All right. Currently, for the digital solution, when amendments are done, the parts which are shown are the amended parts. But depending on the organization's needs, we can actually tweak it to show the whole revised amendment rather than just showing what has been amended itself. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Eileen. There's some more questions dropping in. Okay, thanks. Yeah, there's a question about the software tool and the associated costs, which is of course a very interesting question. Yes, well, of course there's it's a subscription base, right? So if you get a consultant to help you with your legal register in any way or form, right, whether or not it's a traditional version or it's a digitalized version, you will always have to pay something for that. It never comes free, right? So the straight answer is yes, there are of course costs associated to that. Let me see. Yeah, they're jumping a bit. Hold on. I was trying to do them in order a little bit, so they're jumping in my screen. There's another question is, how do we determine which laws and regulations are relevant and applicable? Let me take care of that question. It all has to do with your business nature. So the first step is to understand your business nature and the operations you have, and then understand which laws or regulations you are then applicable to you. So it all comes down to understand the requirements. So let's say you are I'm thinking of a simple example. I can't get one. Eileen mentioned the construction industry, right? So you're a constructor, you're a contractor, and you're doing scaffolding. So your business is a scaffolding business. Then, of course, you need to adhere to all the scaffolding laws and regulations, and you might have to adhere as well. If you go to someone else's site, there might be rules applicable to that site in general as well, which you need to understand. So it's the basis is understanding your business and then understanding the regulations which come to that. And once you have matched those two together, then you can move forward. There's another question about cost and maintenance of the tool, and who is going to take care of it. Well, if you, and that doesn't count only for ESC, but that counts in general, right? If you decide to subscribe to a legal register service, then the counterparty will maintain it for you and will look after it for you as well. And then either provides you a traditional form, right? The Excel, you get an Excel every couple of months, every quarter, every half a year, every year is dependent on how you agree on that. And your counterparty will then ensure that you get your relevance updates. So a digital tool is nothing else from that perspective, whether it's be ESC or any other partner. You're subscribing to a tool, and your partner will host and maintain that tool for you. And what you can do, so the easy part for you is that you can log into the system and have everything in one go in one platform, and you can extract it from there, or you can just view and manage it within the platform itself. I see a question about if it includes multiple countries. Eileen?
Okay, for this, we actually can include multiple countries in one platform. So basically, in the platform demo, you'll realize that there is a Singapore country, and then the X are below. So in that case, we will actually be able to add in other countries, say Malaysia, Korea, Indonesia. Then the X, which are in the country itself, will then be under the country tab itself. So yes, we can do it within a single platform, and there's no need for a different login required.
And that comes to the next question immediately as well, whether or not it can be adapted to EU. Yes, it can work globally. So in the introduction, if you look to ESC, right, I mentioned in the introduction, we are part of the Inogen Alliance Network, which gives us access globally to EHS consultants. So out of the Inogen network, we can actually host it worldwide. So we have our partners in all the countries, and they are providing us then whatever legal requirements there are in that country specified to your organization. And that will be then all hosted in a central form, either in a traditional form or in a digital form. I think, Eileen, the next one is for you.
Does ESC work directly with end users, or does the end user go through another provider?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no, yeah, of course we are working.
Yeah.
You talk to us, basically. Yes, yes. Sorry, I thought it was about user management in the platform itself, but no, yeah, no. So looking into a global scale, right, or a regional scale, the benefit as well, you know, just a little bit of sales pitch, of course, here is that if you choose ESC, we are a regional company, but also part of the global network, and we will serve as the single host for you, and then the rest happens in the back end. So you will talk to us, and we organize the rest for you. All right. Did we miss any questions? Because
No,
they kept them jumping in my screen. No. All right. I'm looking with a I would say square eye, but that's not the right term for that. With a cross eye to the time as well. I see it's almost 10 to 4. Are there any last questions? Any other things? Otherwise, I would like to do a closing remark if there's no further questions. Well, if there are, feel free to drop us an email with any other questions you have, or if you want to have a further chat or want to see more, because we only gave you a sneak peek, you can always get back to us. We are also going to provide you a short survey form. I would like to ask you to help us to fill in that survey form, because that will greatly help us to, understand how we did in this webinar, but also whether or not you would like to see other topics covered in webinars. Hopefully you can help us to fill that in. I see there's 2 last-minute questions dropping in. How do we purchase the tool and services ourselves, or ESC assist to update the legal register? Okay, when you engage us, we will help you to do everything. So we manage it for you then. So you don't have to do the updates yourself. So we are going to take care of that. So it's basically a subscription into the legal register then for you, and then you go either into the platform or you get the Excel, and then on the back end you can do your part. There's a question about data security. This is getting a very technical. The platform is hosted in Microsoft Azure, and it complies to the latest security, system security things. we can discuss that in a bit further if you, I'm not sure who this is, but we are happy to take this question further offline. The basis of the subscription is on per site, not on per head for this. So it's per site or per country. Some of the countries, for example, Australia, have multiple legislations in different jurisdictions within Australia. So if you have sites across the different jurisdictions, then it's per site. If it's a simple country like Singapore, where you only have one jurisdiction, then it actually doesn't really matter how many sites you have in Singapore, then it's per country.
Correct. Maybe just to add on, it's not a per head basis, because the account can actually be used by multiple users so long as they have the account details. Yeah.
Right. All right. So I would like to thank you. I think there's many great questions, and I saw a lot of attendance, which makes us at least very happy. I hope it was very useful for your side too. I want to thank you again for your time and your commitment to join this webinar. And please do fill in the form, which is just being shared in the chat as well. We would be very appreciated if you can do that. And otherwise, I would like to thank you again. Have a great day ahead and stay safe all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.